Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Sync Up Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things OneDrive. OneDrive is the home for all of the files that you care about most, and we are here to take you behind the scenes to get the insights and the knowledge to make your experience and your users' experience better. My name is Stephen Rice. I'm a Principal Product Manager here on the OneDrive team, and as always, I am joined by my friend and fellow OneDrive aficionado, Arvind Mishra.
Thanks, Stephen. Hey, everyone. I'm Arvind, and I'm also a Principal Product Manager on the OneDrive team. Today, we've got a great guest. We are joined by the one and only Rachel Hungerford from our OneDrive research team. Welcome, Rachel.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Pretty good. Where are you coming from?
I am from the beautiful Seattle, Washington.
Excellent. And what are you doing as a research? What is a research manager for OneDrive?
We manage UX research, or I manage UX research across OneDrive. Spans consumer, commercial, web, sync, mobile, photos, and files.
Excellent. For those not in the know, UX stands for user research.
Yeah, user experience. Yes.
Oh, user experience.
It's UX is user experience. UR is user research.
Yes.
Oh, that's right. Sorry. See, I'm not in the know.
You got to get all the acronyms. Well, you've come to the right place. So today we're going to be talking all about how OneDrive uses research to make our products better. But before we can do that, we have to have our little icebreaker. We like to have a little bit of fun before we get into the real meat of things. So our question for today, what is one piece of technology that you simply cannot live without? Arvind, I'm gonna throw it to you first. What do you got?
I would say, only because I invested a lot of time this weekend, I would say my Xbox Series X right now. I'm playing, for me, because I'm just not a competitive gamer, I'm playing a lot of Halo Firefight because I get to play with people instead of against people, and because otherwise I would just get smoked. So I played a lot of that over the holiday week. It's pretty fun. Hats off to the 343 Industries crew, I guess. That's kind of like an ad for them, I suppose.
Close enough.
Rachel, what about you? What's a piece of tech that you can't live without?
I gotta go basic and say my phone. What can I say about it? It's how I order my groceries, how I check the weather, how I use GPS to get around. It's even a baby monitor. I mean, what does it not do?
Living in the future. I'll finish this off. You both have picked two that I would have been very tempted to choose. So I'm kind of stalling for time a little bit as I try and think of something that's cool but also valid.
We gotta make it hard for you.
I'll put my my AirPods or wireless headphones up there as well, particularly just because similarly, I'm playing games with a friend. We're using Discord. I'm on my phone to talk with them. I'm mowing the lawn. I've got the AirPods in to kind of noise cancel and also give me something to listen to. Running groceries, listening to podcasts, plus work in the kitchen, watching a show, whatever it might be. It is what allows me to watch all of my favorite sci-fi shows without, annoying everyone else in the household around me with the zips and the zaps and the blasts and all that kind of goodness.
Rachel, I have a question for you. What's your favorite Harry Potter movie or book?
I'll have to say I have not read or watched any Harry Potter.
Oh, good for you.
I was going to say, that is a swing and a miss, Arvind.
I know, seriously, but that's okay. The no answer is still a good answer. What about you, Stephen? Are you a Harry Potter fan at all?
I am. I'm actually going to go, out there a little bit. One of my favorite Harry Potter experiences that I've had is my wife and I saw The Cursed Child, which is the play in London on our honeymoon. I mean, slight spoilers for a play that has been out for 10 years, something like that. It was a 2-part thing. So we went on Thursday night and then came back on Friday morning or something like that. And it is it's half stage play and the kind of typical sets moving and stuff like that. And half magic show. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but they would do all the kind of cool, magician's tricks you would expect at an actual magic show, but in the Harry Potter vibe. So someone needs to, travel via flu powder. They walk into the fireplace, they drop their hand, there's a flash of smoke, and then they're completely gone and they're off stage now and stuff like that. It was incredibly entertaining and very well done.
Nice. We also went to London at one point and saw the play, but we saw it like all in one day, and it was like,
That's a lot.
yeah, it was, but it didn't feel like a lot because it was sort of like watching, because there's like intermissions and all that.
Yeah.
And then there's a long intermission where they give you like a dinner break and then you come back. So it really just kind of felt like you're watching two movies in one day, which I'm ashamed to say that I probably have done that. So, or maybe even in one sitting, honestly.
No shame here, Arvind. There is shame here, but it's quiet. We're vocally supporting you and judging you behind the scenes.
I've definitely done it too.
Gosh, I would say for me the more interesting Harry Potter thing that I've read / seen would probably be like the third book. Because I feel like between the book and the movie, like the whole tone just sort of changed from this like children's sort of experience to like more of an adult themed kind of form of entertainment. So anyways, Rachel, this is all stuff for you to look forward to when you finally do watch or experience the Harry Potter universe. So that was so random, but enough about that nonsense. Rachel, I'm sure you don't want to hear us talking about Harry Potter all day. So why don't we just jump in and talk about user experience research?
Sounds great.
So really quickly, what does that mean for our people out there?
That's a great question. It's about studying our users, understanding their behaviors, understanding what they look for, like any kind of challenges or issues that they're having with our products. It helps us identify opportunities for new features or things that we could improve. And it's also important that we monitor customer feedback so that we can keep an eye on how things are doing and make adjustments based on what people are telling us.
So Rachel, we collect all this user feedback from various channels. We'll talk about that. How does that influence the product itself? What does that process look like from your side?
So on the research team, we are embedded with our product team. So we sit alongside design, PM, engineering, data science, marketing, and we're really, have our ears listening to what the team is saying, what kind of questions they have, what things they're exploring, and we use that and we develop research plans to help us talk directly to customers potentially. We might do, surveys or things we're not necessarily speaking to them, but we're listening to them or like soliciting feedback. We might have prototypes or things like that. We want to get in front of customers, have them try it out, see, if they're able to use them successfully or what things might be holding them back. And then we bring the insights that we hear from our customers in all of these different channels, and we bring it back to our product team. We're in a lot of meetings with our product team, so we're sharing those insights. We're bringing up that feedback, when it needs to be heard, and that's how we bring what we hear to our customers back to the team. We also invite the team to listen in to customers directly, so they get to hear that, they get to build that empathy about what our customers are saying.
So, like super critical function, and like having user experience research as part of the team, like obviously that's a godsend, because otherwise it would just be engineering and product making stuff up based on some quantitative data. So good that we have conversations. But I'd love to know, just to help paint the picture for the audience, can you share like a story that was where user research like heavily influenced a successful outcome for a product?
We took a deep dive on users' jobs to be done in the file space. And jobs to be done is a method we throw around in the user research space, but it's really about understanding tasks that a person would hire a tool to do. So a person would hire a hammer and a nail to put a hole in a wall. The point for us is to understand what those jobs are and then understand what tools they're using. Are the tools meeting their needs? Why or why not? So through that research that we specifically did around the file space, we're able to identify those key jobs that users are performing with their files, the priorities of those jobs. And then from there, we identified opportunity areas for both OneDrive and within Teams. The study was spanning both. And then since then, the jobs have really anchored the team on user priorities, and they helped us prioritize those features that we had the list of features, and this helps us figure out what are the top ones that are really going to help customers. Let's make sure that we're addressing those, and then also addressing kind of gaps that we might see in what we have. So for example, finding files, super important in the file space, of course, right? And not surprising, that's challenging for customers, So since then, the team has launched OneDrive Home. that aims to streamline finding files, surfaces recent content, has suggested content, filters that can help you kind of hone in on what you're looking for. So we did the research on sort of like the high level. What are those jobs that people are trying to do in the file space? And of course, we also did lots of iterative research on OneDrive Home and the various components as well when we had the design getting refined and things like that.
Rachel, I want to put you on the spot a little bit, and I apologize in advance. Just to give folks like a sense of the scale of the job. For something like OneDrive Home, how many like individual studies or people do you think we talked to, like roughly size it? What do you think that looks like?
We did many studies. Some of them were qualitative, which are going to be smaller sample size, like less than 12. Some are going to be bigger sample size, like 100. We did studies on the IA, which is information architecture, which is a fancy way of saying like how information is organized on the page and the navigation. We did usability testing on like the filters, the cards at the top. We did several studies on those to understand like, what kind of content do you want to show there? What sort of like signals do you want there? Is the specific content meeting your needs? We did testing on the different views. So there's like meetings and people, search. Okay, there's a lot of parts to that. It was a big research effort.
Yeah, this is one of those cases where it's like pictures worth 1,000 words. I want to like take a picture of OneDrive Home and just point at every pixel on that screen. They're like, this went through research, this went through research, this went through research. Like every bit of it goes through, which is just awesome.
I mean, just to sort of cement that for the audience, I mean, so is it fair to say that like every single piece of UI has been put in front of many customers to either quantitatively or qualitatively to get their thoughts on any kind of new feature that we've built? Like, is it fair to say that?
I would say we prioritize based on sort of the product team and the business priorities, as well as UX risk, I guess, and investment. So I wouldn't say every piece, but we are listening for every piece. And we're not only doing that with the UX research team where we're doing research ahead of launch, but we're always listening after launch as well. And we work closely with our customer support team to hear those signals, to identify trends and dig into issues if we need to. But we're always listening to different parts as far as what gets researched ahead of time, what gets researched sort of after. Few factors involved in that, I would say.
If only we had infinite budget, it'd make things way easier.
Exactly.
You just described so much input. What are some of the biggest challenges that your team has with like, how do you interpret all of that? And then put that into a format that is, useful and a thing that we can use to build on top of? Like, what does that process look like?
That's a great question. I would say, that's one of my like research keeps me up at nights type of problems.
Yep.
It's an area that I think there's always room for improvement. We have a healthy size research team. I would say we come with a wide range of backgrounds and expertise, and we lean on each other to grow and learn from each other as far as how to do that. But trying to synthesize a lot of data and put it in, transform it into digestible insights is an ongoing challenge, I would say. Yeah. And speaking to sort of challenges as well. So like I mentioned, OneDrive Home on the topic of that, the team was moving very quickly. We were trying to get a lot of features out to the customer. So it was a challenge for us to move quickly, work closely with our partners, make sure that we're meeting our UX bar, we're meeting our customers' needs. So we really had to be strategic in prioritizing our roadmap, making sure that we were, getting the answers that we needed to get, and then continuing to listen to customers, once we launched it. I'll also mention one other challenge we face, which I think will make sense to anyone listening. So, understanding the diverse needs and preferences of our different user segments continues to be a large challenge for us. We have personal, business customers, education, people in the education space, and they use OneDrive for many scenarios, right? We have collaboration and backup and sharing. So when we're doing our research, we really make sure to be intentional about recruiting a wide range for our research participants. And we also speak with both end users and admins, and really making sure that we have a broad range of voices that we're listening to.
I wanted to piggyback a little on one of the stories you were telling, Rachel. And we'll talk a little bit about some of the sharing research type stuff, which is obviously the space I work in. One of the particular kinds of magic that I love watching is the partnership that our research team has with our design team. We've done, at least on the sharing side, I think they're called RITE studies, which is like rapid, iterative.
Yeah, testing and evaluation.
That one, yeah. It's this really cool approach where like we'll have like 5 participants set up in a couple of days. First participant goes through, it's like, like we can already tell this string, this button placement isn't quite right. Designer will change up the prototype, make a bunch of changes to kind of address that feedback, and then we go into user number 2. User number 2 gives feedback, change it up again, and just like rapid iterative testing and whatever the last letter was. But like watching that partnership is so cool to see. Sometimes you get to the end of the study and you're like, oh, wow, we've made a bunch of these little minor-ish changes, but it has really brought the product like from like a 75% there to like 99. It is super cool to see.
Yeah, I love to see the partnership, a very close partnership on the sharing team with the PM research and design and engineering. So,
what surprising or unexpected insights have you guys been able to uncover when it comes to people using, or customers? It could be consumer or commercial.
Yeah.
But when it comes to them using OneDrive.
This is maybe like a minor insight, and it's not even specific to OneDrive, but something that always kind of stuck out to me recently. We're doing a study to understand the various ways that users get back to their files. And favoriting or adding a star is a pretty common way that people would do that. One thing that surprised me in the study was that people weren't necessarily using favorites as a way to get back to their content. They weren't going to favorites to get back to it or trying to store their content there. Instead, they were just using the star as a visual cue in the list, so that the file or the, whatever, even email has a star next to it. And that was what they were using. And some of them didn't even necessarily realize that they could view their favorites in one place if they wanted to. And that really served as a reminder to me that it's important to view the world through our users' eyes and not assume that they're going to use things the way that we imagine them.
Gotcha. So they were using the star as maybe more of like a label then, I would expect?
In a way, yeah. It's sort of a visual, often color-coded. This is something I want to notice, and the star lets me do that. Star, heart, flag.
Not script, but this just opens up questions like, I wonder if like, does colored folders fill that need now? I wonder. Like, that's a great research question.
Yeah, no, that came up in that exact study. People were using color to signify importance. Either maybe it was like in priority. Maybe it was, I signed it to a specific project. Some of this research actually fed into like the colored folders that we launched, as far as people were using colored folders as this way to add meaning to their content and add that extra layer to make it more personal to themselves.
It's such a small feature, not in terms of the build out, but color folders seems like, it's like maybe it's an obvious feature. I don't know. But like when you were doing research, was it like pretty early on, you knew that people were going to respond to that pretty favorably as you showed it to them?
With the colored folders insight, that actually came up from just seeing what people were doing already. So that is actually one of my favorite ways to do research, which is just sort of observing what they're already doing and what options they're using and like how they're using their existing tools, and really like opening our eyes to not just like OneDrive, but like their desktop on their computer, or, how they're using email, and really like just looking really broadly. So I'd seen customers using colored folders or color specifically as a way to add meaning. So we did research on colored folders later too, but to me, like seeing them use it naturally and how they're using it was the bigger indicator that this was going to be useful and a delightful thing for our customers.
Yeah. So Rach, I want to dig in a little on something you mentioned earlier. So you mentioned one of the challenges with research is that like OneDrive is used by many kinds of people: consumer, commercial, business, education. Like as a research team, like how do you ensure that the research we're doing represents that kind of diverse group of users? And not even just like industry, but it could be different regions, different backgrounds, like all these different factors that change how people interact with the product.
I feel really lucky to live in the time we live in now, where we can recruit diverse participants without even leaving our office. And it's because of the wide range of virtual tools that we have now. Early in my career, most research was conducted in person. And that, as you can imagine, makes it a lot more challenging to recruit in a more diverse way, particularly for, geography, but in many ways. So now, thanks to these virtual tools that we have, we can recruit diverse audiences on all of our studies, and we're very intentional to recruit across geos. Depending on the study, we might look at, additional factors such as, technical knowledge, expertise in a particular domain, usage of a particular feature or tool, specific behaviors. There's really a lot of different ways that we might look for ways to recruit people for a study, kind of depending on what it is.
I just love that. I've seen like many studies where we start with participant one, they're very technical savvy admin. We put this in front of them like, oh yeah, they get it easy. And we're like, yes, we've done an awesome job. We feel really good about it. Next participant, end user, doesn't have a technical background. And it's like, oh, never mind. We have missed. And we only capture that sort of insight because we are able to capture so many different kinds of backgrounds and people. And
yeah, it's so important to talk to a wide range of people.
As you're saying that, I'm just like thinking through all the times I've been in like different research sessions where, someone's going, like a customer's going through a feature and, they're obviously not able to complete the task. And you're just like behind the glass, you're like, it's the red button. Click on the red. Don't you see the red button? And honestly, it's not their fault. It's our fault because we designed it that way, and it's probably not obvious to them. But it's very hard to not be like, jumping out of your chair and being like, come on, it's right in front of you.
Yes, it's such an important exercise in building empathy.
Yes.
I'm reminded, Arvin, there's the YouTube video of, I don't know if it's like a tester or whatever it is, but she's watching an adult who has one of those like kids toys where, it's a bucket and there's a thing along the top and there's the different shapes that go through. And, we've got the shape for the square and the circle and the triangle. And, the person picks up, the square and they put it into the square hole. And she's like, yes, that is good. Okay. And then they pick up the circle and they put it on the side and they put it into the square hole. And she's like, oh, no. And then they pick up the triangle and they put it on its side and it fits into the square hole. And just her face she's just like, no, you're not using it right. This isn't how it's supposed to happen. It's just, I feel like that is the user research experience in a nutshell in so many ways.
It's like, it was a moment for that product team to be like, well, everyone can just put everything through the circle hole or the square hole or whatever.
If you put stars on your folders, all organization problems are solved, no other UX needed.
I'm sure that was a revelatory moment for that team. But similarly, like on our side, like Rachel, like what have you seen that was like truly one of the more surprising, like, oh my gosh, moments when y'all were able to see when you were running research?
So something that came up recently on my team during our research. So the team was doing some research in the OneDrive sync space. And we found, we're surprised to see a number of customers didn't understand the word sync in relation to OneDrive. They were confused about what to do when they encountered the word in the product. And, in fact, one of our participants described it, when she saw the word sync, she was so perplexed by it, it stopped her from what she was doing. She kind of closed it and she felt like, our content was safe, and she didn't want to really interact with it anymore, which of course, that's not an ideal experience. We want our customers to feel confident in what they're doing and what the product is doing. And of course, we want their content to be safe. So we tried other, language and things like that. And we found backup to be much more understandable for folks in the research study. And it was sufficient to explain what was going on in a variety of scenarios. So we ended up changing the UI to use the word backup instead of sync to help, give that confidence, give that peace of mind with our customers and align more to how they were thinking about things than what we had in the product.
That's such a great example. Because like I think internally, because the way that OneDrive was originally developed, sync is very much on the minds of all the PM and researchers and engineers that work within the organization. But yeah, for customers, they're just like, yeah, you're just backing up my stuff. Like they don't even think about synchronization, even though that's what is happening behind the scenes. They're just like, no, what is the outcome or my end benefit that I'm getting, and that's how I'm going to describe it. So that makes so much sense.
I just remember when I joined the team, like the backup was a very dirty word. Like, no, we are not backup. We are sync. Backup is a different thing. And it was actually like taboo to even use backup in the product. And it's a great example, I think, of like that maybe synchronization has more nuance than backup does. But when you put it in front of someone who doesn't know what synchronization means, you're not making the right choice. You're making a product for people, not for us.
But it's not like they don't know what it means. I think they just don't think of what's happening in that context. You know what I mean? Like they're like, no, my stuff is being backed up. It's being protected. So yeah, I don't know. It's super interesting. We can get really enamored with our own technology sometimes, I think.
Yeah, I think it's great to, align to the way that our customers are thinking about it. And this is also like a great collaboration with our content folks. We have some really awesome folks that we work alongside. So I want to give a shout out to them as well.
Shout out to the content team.
Rachel, so we've gone through all of this process of like researching an idea. We've got a feature we've been thinking about. How does that get turned from a piece of user research into something tangible that our listeners will see show up on their computer themselves? How does that work from their perspective, or from your perspective, I should say?
As I mentioned, so our researchers are embedded on the product team, which not all user research teams are embedded on a product teams. There's sort of different models that user research can happen. And for us, we decide to be part of the future crew so that, like I said, we can hear the questions that people are asking. We're part of, planning and things like that. And that way, because we're involved at every stage of the product development cycle, we can really be part of, early ideation, evaluation stages, and collaborating closely with other disciplines to ensure that those research insights are translated into actual recommendations, communicating those findings, not just when we do the research, but ongoing. We might bring up a research insight 2 years later if it's still applicable. We have many channels that we share our research out as well, presentations, newsletters. But being part of the team helps us build that trust and rapport with our, cross-discipline partners, helps us advocate for, customers' needs and bringing that perspective into, many touch points that might not be the case if we were in more of like a consultancy type model versus like an embedded model. And it also gives us the opportunity to learn from the expertise of our colleagues, our cross-discipline colleagues, so that we can learn from each other and, really contribute to the, overall vision and strategy of OneDrive and our product roadmap.
I'll say, I know I appreciate literally all of the things you just described. That like that embedded nature, I think, gives us so much more power when it comes to not just doing a one-off study and these are problems for the product. Now go figure it out. Like, no, these are problems. Now let's work together and collaborate. Pun slightly intended.
Yeah.
Bring about a solution, test it again, see how it's changed.
Yeah. We love our cross-discipline partners and doing team events with our cross-discipline partners.
Mainly the team event thing, and anything for a free lunch, right?
I mean, I think the embedded nature is super interesting and super valuable as well. And I sort of liken it to like, I think when you do some research, Rachel, like if you're doing a particular study for a feature, you can probably through the interviews arrive at like what an optimal solution might be. But sometimes that optimal solution, we can't build, it's too expensive. And so I think that there's great empathy on both sides where it's like, okay, well, we couldn't build the Maserati solution. But instead, we built something that was still pretty good. We built the BMW solution. I don't know if that's a good analogy. We're by both car companies, but yeah, like you understand like the journey and why we end up with some of the solutions that we end up with, even if they're not always perfect. But we strive.
Yeah, exactly. And by working together and being embedded, that we get to hear those sides of the story, and then we can work together to figure out how to make that BMW awesome, right?
So we probably have a lot of folks out in the audience that maybe want to become a user experience researcher. Like, one, how do you become one? And then two, once you do become one, what does your day look like? Like your typical day at Microsoft as a researcher?
Well, user experience and research in particular, we tend to have varied backgrounds. You can really have a number of, a lot of people have social science backgrounds, human-computer interaction. Those are probably the most common ones, but there are other backgrounds as well. I have a more human-computer interaction background myself. And then as far as our day-to-day, it really, every day is different. Like I mentioned, we have a lot of different ways we go about talking to customers, engaging with customers, and each of those will manifest in a different sort of day-to-day situation. But in a given month, I guess you could say, you could find us running research studies, like one-on-one user conversations. We could be launching surveys, running group discussions, running unmoderated sessions. Of course, planning research is a big part of it, analyzing that data, writing research reports, sharing with the team, and then everything that goes along with the being embedded in the product team as well. So, planning meetings, design critiques, team events, vision planning, all of that stuff as well.
That sounds awesome. So what I'm taking away from this is that you need to be a people person in order to be.
You definitely need to be a people person.
Excellent. I loved how you snuck in like team events in the middle of there. It's like, okay, cool. Yeah, of course.
Team events are important.
Team events are very important. Okay, well, cool. So HCI, just for everyone out there, is like human computer interaction or something. Okay, and there are programs out there for people to actually go to college and study that.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Actually, Rachel, I've got one more last question for you. A little bit of an audible. So obviously the product team is working on things that we can't always talk about, but just in terms of like broad spacing, web, collab, mobile, whatever it might be, is there a research project going on right now that you're particularly excited about? Just high level, nothing spoilery that we're not quite ready to talk about yet.
Well, let's see. I'm excited about everything we're doing. I'm excited about some big updates we have in the sharing space. I'm excited about some big updates we have in the mobile space, photo space. Yeah. We're always working on cool things, so it's hard to pick. But
I'm sure our audience will be able to hear more about all these great things coming up in the next couple of months. So we'll be excited to share them with you too.
Absolutely.
Stephen, I don't have any more questions. We want to say thank you, Rachel, for joining us today and letting the world and our audience know about, all the great work that our research team is doing for the product to make it better. If people want to find and learn more about you, like how can they reach you? Is it LinkedIn? Is it Instagram? Is it Dribbble? Like where could they find more about you? I
would say LinkedIn is a good place to find me. You can find me, Rachel Hungerford.
Excellent.
I'm afraid to reveal myself. Is Dribbble a thing, or did you just make up a product, or is that an actual thing?
No, it's a thing for the design community, and I don't know if it's so much for researchers, but certainly for the design community.
Okay, well that explains why
it's Dribbble with 3 B's. We're now shilling products on this show, but it's a real thing.
Okay. Well, if you want to learn more about OneDrive, the latest and greatest, you can check out the blog at aka.ms/OneDrive/blog. You can check out myself also on LinkedIn at srice08, and Arvind is also on LinkedIn at arvindmishra1.
As always, we love hearing from you, our listeners. You can reach us on Twitter at OneDrive, and if you've got a question, just tag it with #SyncUp. It'll get to us. We'll find it. We'll answer it. And if you do send us a question and we actually answer it directly, Stephen will send you a OneDrive beanie. I think we still have some of those left, right?
I do still have a few of those.
Excellent. So you can always visit our page for links, resources, and more at aka.ms/syncup.
You can send us questions directly by emailing syncupquestions@microsoft.com. Please don't spam us, though. Don't forget to subscribe to SyncUp wherever you get your podcasts. If you enjoy SyncUp or find it useful, tell your friends. Word of mouth is the best way to get people engaged, help us grow the show. Check us out on YouTube. That is the Microsoft 365 YouTube channel. There's the awesome migration episode that we did with Vishal and Yogesh that you should check out. If you're curious about other Microsoft podcasts, check out aka.ms/Microsoft/podcasts.